Hey everybody, welcome back to Banjo Kazooie. You may notice some things are a little bit different from the last episode. Let me tell you a story as I make my way up through Grunty's lair. I recorded the final couple of episodes of this LP yesterday, last night actually, and it's a sordid tale because I recorded something like 2 hours of footage over the last area as well as the final boss. However, in the middle of the recording, about 3/4 of the way through the recording, my recording software bugged out. I think it has something to do with a Java update that popped up on my desktop as I was recording, and basically caused everything that I recorded up to that point to not exist. It no longer exists in the raw footage files, even though I very clearly did record that section of the game. And I couldn't find it in the raw data files, I couldn't find it anywhere else within the game file, within the temporary files, or within anything else. It's all gone. So I have the footage of my final run of the final boss, but everything up to that point that I had recorded an hour and a half or so worth of footage is lost forever. And there are some parts of that footage that are things that I would not be able to reduplicate in this game without playing through the entire game again up to this point. To which I said, screw that noise, I'm going to record a separate episode explaining what happened. I may go back and somehow show you guys what happened, but I highly doubt it. So here's one thing that I did. Those of you who've been paying attention throughout the LP, which I don't know how many of you there actually are, may notice that I had 98 jiggies leaving Click Clock Wood. One of the jiggies that I was missing was right up there. I smashed the eye, and I made the jiggy appear, but I never actually picked it up. So, yeah, that's where one of them was. I should have had 99 leaving Click Clock Wood for the last time, which I obviously did not. So, that's why I'm making my way back to that area on foot, to just kind of show what should have happened or what was supposed to happen between now and then. Alright. But yeah, with that glitch happening, basically what that means is that all but about half of my run of the final boss, all the rest of the footage is gone. And the credit sequence is also gone. So in reality, I have very, very little footage to show you guys over the finale episode here. I will be showing you everything that I have, or at least everything that's worth having that I've got. It's almost all of the final boss up to a point. And I'll just edit that in with my initial reactions, because it was a pretty good run of the final boss, all things considered. I had 1 health left by the very end, just as I beat it, so it was pretty good. Anyway, this is where you have to go to actually reach the final area and the final boss. I pointed this out before we went to Click Clock Wood. But since this area has already been cleared, there's nothing else here. So allow me to explain exactly what this is. This is Grunty's Furnace Fun board game. Basically, it's like a quiz game, like a game show, and it's basically purposely geared to kill you as horribly as possible. Each different space has a different question or challenge that you have to do, and if you get it right, you're allowed to advance. If you get it wrong, you lose health, or in some special cases, you just outright die. And different spaces have different questions or different things that you have to do that'll allow you to advance farther on in the actual area. So, yeah. And I just realized I didn't show you where that last jiggy was that we hadn't gotten, the 100th jiggy. It's up above the exit to Click Clock Wood. You have to transform into a bee and fly up and grab it. It's not that hard to get. You just can't reach it unless you're a bee. Just kind of like the termite jiggy in the very beginning of the game. So anyway, we go on to this first space. This is the Banjo Kazooie space. This is the most common spaces on the game board. These basically ask you general trivia about the game. They'll ask you about character names, ask you about different locations, ask you about things that happen in those locations, etc. These are snapshot spaces. These will ask you questions about a screenshot of the game, asking you whether or not what level that's from, what the character's name is, etc. And then the health spaces obviously will give you an extra honeycomb piece. In case you've missed a question, you have to collect honeycombs to refill your health, because obviously if you run out of health, you die and you have to start the whole thing over. Grunty spaces will ask you questions about Grunty herself. And the only way to figure out what is true or false in these questions is to have talked to Brentilda throughout the game and probably written the actual answers that she gives you down somewhere, and then come to this part of the game and actually answer the questions properly. Music spaces will ask you questions about the game music, or about sound effects, or about character voices, asking you where it's from, when it plays, what causes that music to happen. These are some of the easiest questions to get, simply because most of the sounds in this game are so distinct, and if you played this game more than once, you know pretty much every sound in it. Joker spaces will ask you a random question that can be any of the, it can be a snapshot, music question, or a regular trivia question, and if you get it right, you get 2 Joker cards, which allow you to skip a space. But if you get it wrong, not only do you lose health, but you miss out on your chance of getting a Joker card. Death spaces are the tricky ones, because these, again, just like the Jokers, will ask you a random trivia question, but unlike the Jokers, if you get it wrong, you instantly lose a life, and you have to start the whole board game over again. Which is pretty harsh. Basically, once you get Jokers, your best... Unless you have, like I did when I originally did this, unless you have no idea what a lot of the Grunty questions are, you're best off using the Jokers to skip these, just on the off chance that you get one of these wrong, and then have to start the whole thing over. You can get extra lives here as well. Obviously, those give you extra tries in the maze. It's pretty useful. And then these spaces, these are the ones that I had the hardest time with. These are time trials. Basically, these have you go through a mini-game challenge or through a boss with an even narrower time limit than you did in the actual game. For instance, I had to play Boss Boombox from Rusty Bucket Bay with only 70 seconds to beat him, which it may seem like a lot, but it's really not. I came down to the wire quite a couple of times, and and the thing is that if you lose health in a challenge like that, for instance against Boss Boombox, if you lose health, then you still have the health lost even if you do win the challenge. So let's say you get knocked down to like 3 health cells before you even reach before you even finish the challenge. By the time you finish it, those 3 health cells are still all you have left, and you have to collect more to be able to finish it, because so basically any health that you lose within those challenges stays gone. But yeah, that's all the different spaces that I had. When I was really doing this run through of it, I had a lot of trouble with the Grunty spaces because I haven't talked to Brentilda throughout the entire game. I remember being able to do a run of this that I didn't have to talk to Brentilda ever, but I honestly don't remember how I did it. Basically, what I did, I figured out the best strategy to do was to go up this way along the left side through here, because this will net you a bunch of extra honeycomb pieces. You have a couple of music spaces. Again, those are the easiest questions to answer. There's a nice Joker right there. There's another one right up there. And there are very, very few instant death spaces up until you get towards the final area. One other thing about this is that this area's difficulty actually scales. Depending on how far along the board you actually get, the questions get harder. Because at the beginning, it'll ask you basic questions like, let's say back here, it'll ask you a trivia question. Let's say, what's the name of the dolphin in Rusty Bucket Bay? Snorkel. We know that. But then once you get all the way up to towards the end, the questions will be things like, how many pyramids are there in Gobi's Valley? Or how many windows or entrances are there into Mad Monster Mansion? And it gets harder and harder. And by the time you reach these 2 squares, where you get those really hard questions that'll kill you instantly, these are where you want to use your Jokers, because if you have 2 Jokers at this point, you Joker here, finish the Grunty question, Joker here, and then win. Once you get up here, Grunty's the one running the quiz, by the way. I probably didn't mention that, but what Grunty does is she pieces out, makes you watch the credits while she makes her escape up that stairway to the right. And over here on the left, we get Tootie back, as well as a couple of other prizes that don't actually mean anything. But we watch the credit sequence, we watch a cute little ending sequence that basically says, hey, we got Tooty back, but we've still got to beat Grunty. So then we head up here to the right and head up deeper into Grunty's inner sanctuary. So this is where we actually saw the very introduction of the game. This is Grunty's very inner sanctuary. There's a cauldron over there that links up to directly behind the entrance of the board game. If you just turn around, there's a cauldron that'll take you right here. But obviously you can't get in here until after you've beaten the game. But I raised this question when I was actually doing the game itself in my original recording, is that why would you ever want to skip over the game if you were coming back here to face Grunty again? Because then you can get health and lives just from walking across the board. It's not that big of a deal. I don't know. Anyway, you come in here. There's actually a note door here with 810 notes, so you have to have at least finished Click Clack Wood to the point where you have 810 notes to be able to get this far. And then in here, this puzzle requires all but 6 of our remaining Jiggies, and that will allow you entrance into that door right there that'll take us up towards the final boss. Over here to the right, well, we've got a health thing here, obviously, but over here to the right, there's also Grunty's lab with this Gruntling, who's very annoying. We can take him out. Grab the health cell that he drops. But yeah, this area doesn't do anything aside from just showing the fact that, hey, yeah, we actually did model. It's not just in the cutscenes. But yeah, after you fill up this puzzle, you head over this way, and let's see. This area is directly before the final boss. There are doorways here that go up in increments of 20 notes. This one, I believe, this one here has 826 notes. This one has 846. This one over here has 866, or maybe vice versa, I don't remember. And then this one over here has 882, which means that basically you can finish all of the note doors in the game without actually finishing all of the notes in Rusty Bucket Bay. You can afford to not have 18 notes in Rusty Bucket Bay, or whatever level you're having a hard time with. And then this is the final puzzle of the game. Completing this puzzle basically gives you, as you may have noticed, red health cells instead of yellow ones, which basically doubles your health bar. It allows each cell to take 2 hits instead of just 1. This costs you 4 Jiggies, so you have 2 Jiggies left over if you've gotten all of the Jiggies as I have, which means that, again, you don't have to have 100%ed Rusty Bucket Bay to have gotten this far in the game. You can afford to not get the 2 Jiggies in the engine room in order to actually be able to finish the game. So yeah, each of these items here is actually a full refill on items. So if you have the Cheeto Cheats and you have these, they allow you full refills on eggs and both kinds of feathers in preparation for the final boss. You should have full health either by completing that puzzle or by using the hive that's out there. You can see my totals are quite a bit low considering I just ran the final boss last night, and then I promptly quit the game after I did it, considering that I thought that I'd won. I'm going to play through Grunty's again up to the point where I'd actually be cutting back in with my original commentary, and I'll make note of it when I do, so I'll see you guys in a second. Alright, and this is my run of the final level, or the final boss actually. You have to fight Grunty. To start with, she's just going to basically be a bull rush boss. She'll just charge at you across the top of the castle. You can Talon Trot to get out of her way, or you can use Banjo's forward roll. Either one works. Then when her broomstick stops working, you just jump up and give her a nice smack, and she throws a fireball at you, and then she runs away and starts the pattern again. This boss fight is extremely long and extremely difficult, especially if you're bad at any of the mechanics involved, i.e. the beak bomb or shooting eggs, like I am. Her fireballs can easily be dodged if you just juke a little bit, swing back and, turn around in a circle or whatever, because she tries to lead you, and if she's not sure which direction you're running, she's just going to throw it in a random direction. So she's not that hard to dodge her fireballs, at least not at this stage. This is very obviously the easiest stage of the fight, but after every time that you hit her, not only does she get a little bit more accurate with her fireballs and with her attack, but she gets a little bit faster as well, so that's going to hold true for the entire boss fight. where she'll just be sweeping back and forth, and then she'll stop, and then she'll leave you even less of a window to actually hit her. And after each stage of the fight, she'll drop a single honeycomb piece for you, and then she'll fire a homing spell, which will hit you automatically, and the only way to stop it is to use Wonder Wheel. Now, she's going to move behind the battlements outside of the castle so that you can't jump attack her, and the only way to hit her from there is to use eggs. Basically, what you have to do is hop onto one of the battlements, fire eggs at her, and then as soon as 3 eggs hit her, she'll move on to the next part. Obviously, she's taunting you through the entire fight. Her fireball's explosions actually do hurt you well after the fireball's actually landed, so you have to be careful that not to walk into an explosion. See there, you can see one hit only takes away 1 health cell, but since you don't have invincibility frames in this game, you can very easily die very fast if you get caught in more than 1 fireball. And after you hit her, she'll kind of jump away, so you have to hit her relatively dead on, otherwise she'll kind of get knocked away from the other eggs in a burst. You have to hit her 3 times each time to be able to make her move on to the next area. Obviously, each time she throws more fireballs, she gets a little bit more accurate, she gets a little bit faster, and she leaves you less of a window to attack her. This is probably my worst favorite part of this fight, simply because it's so hard to hit her in the last couple of stages of it. And you can see if you just kind of move around in a circle like that, she'll kind of miss very wildly. She can't hit you if you're standing directly behind one of the battlements, but that also makes it very hard to hit her because it leaves you an even smaller window to actually jump up and hit her because the fireball's explosion is going to be there constantly. Now this is the last part of this fight. She leaves you almost no window at all to be able to jump up and hit her, so you have to basically jump up in between fireballs and hit her. That's your best shot anyway. So what I did was I actually went behind the larger battlement here and used this one since it leaves you a little bit more margin for error to jump up. Because if you fall off the castle, if you fall off the battlement and fall off the castle, you lose a life and you have to start the fight over. So there we go. She's going to fire another homing spell at us and we'll be on to the next stage. This next stage of the fight is my least favorite, not because it's hard, you don't lose all that much health, but because it's long and it's annoying, because guess what? We have to beak bomb her 4 times, which is almost impossible considering how bad beak bomb's aiming controls are. Looks like we've lost 4 health already, but we have, what, 12 more? It's not that big of a deal, right? Right? So yeah, this recording of this fight isn't going to be the best because this is me at my absolute worst and me at my absolute worst at beak bombing. I'm going to be throwing beak bombs all over the place. I'm going to take my 100 feathers down to about 20 in the end. So yeah, the thing is I keep missing just wide right of her. And, you know, I think you could probably change that if I were to fire just a little bit sooner than I do. Basically her pattern is that she'll fly around in a vague, I guess, pentagon shape, no, or a hexagon shape, and after every half or so, she'll stop. And one of the times she'll stop, she won't do anything, and the other time she'll throw a fireball at you. When she stops is your best chance to hit her, but it's hard to do because beak bomb is such an inaccurate thing, and she doesn't leave you a lot of time, especially after the first hit you land. So what your best bet is, I figured out, is when she's making her turn like that, if you can hit her mid-turn when you're going head on to her, that's probably your best shot, but you can see I keep messing it up. I keep going just to her right. And that's just because my reaction time is just a hair too slow. Or I'm just really bad at aiming. That could be true too. Her firing her fireballs, she's actually less accurate than Sir Slush is, the snowmen that you have to face in Freeze Easy Peak and Click Clock Wood. So, after you hear her fire, as long as you turn or you use a feather, she won't hit you. And that's what I mean, you don't lose a lot of health in this part of the fight. Obviously, if you get hit, you're going to lose health, and there's every chance that you might fall off the castle, but you really shouldn't as long as you're decent at flying. And you should have plenty of practice by this point, especially if you had to face off against a couple of Sir Slushes. See, that was just bad. I had every chance. I keep missing and missing and missing, and this is only the, I believe, the second or third hit. I'm not sure exactly which. But you have to hit her 4 times, and honestly, this hit, it's either the second or the third, is the hardest one, because even though she does leave you some time, she only throws a couple of fireballs, and that's usually when I'd hit her at later stages of the fight, because as she throws more fireballs, she stays still, and since she has a hard time hitting you, it's honestly the easiest time to be able to actually hit her. Also, don't fly too far away from the top of the tower, because you'll end up hitting an invisible wall and dying, so don't do that. So you can see she stops, she's going to use fireballs. I could have hit her there, but again, I just missed. This is going to keep going on for a little while, so strap yourselves in, folks. So yeah, what I'm going to be doing is that after I finish this stage of the fight, we're going to be going on, once we get started with the next stage, I'm going to be switching back to my original commentary, because that's about where the original version of this fight begins from the original footage. So I'm going to be, once you see, it's going to be, I'll let you know when it's about to be cut. It's going to be probably fairly obvious, because I'm going to be a lot more optimistic in my outlook of the game at the end than I am right now. Right now, I don't feel like finishing this LP with any sort of grace or dignity. Basically, what I mean by that is I don't intend to do the bonus episodes for this LP anytime soon. My plan is to come back and do the bonus episodes after I've had a chance to cool off from this game. Right now, I really, really, really do not like this game. It's not even the game's fault, but I'm just burned out on Banjo Kazooie right now. I'm not going to do Banjo Tooie quite next. I know I bring that up at the end of my original commentary, but I'm going to probably be doing Banjo Tooie sometime in the future. I don't know exactly when, but it's definitely not going to be the very next game that I play. I want to play something else. I want to play a game that I can be a little less active in, and I have a chance to make fun of the game a bit more, because this game requires so much fine reaction and so much intensity to it that I really can't make fun of it, and I really can't commentate over it except for narrating what I'm doing. So I want to do a game that's a little bit slower paced, that's got a little bit more, I don't want to say nuance, because that's not true. It's got a little bit more I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Basically, that's less action than this game is, and it's a little bit more just walking or just doing something that I can talk over a little bit more. That basically, I want to tear a game apart. That's basically what I'm saying here. I don't know exactly what game that's going to be. I have a couple of options that I've been thinking of. But yeah, you can see I'm down to 26 feathers out of 100. So I've already gone through 3/4 of my feathers, and I've still got 2 hits to lay on her. Not good. I'm just not very good at this in general. So I finally just decide, you know what, I'm just going to land, I'm going to grab a couple more feathers, I'm going to gather my wits. Her fireballs are less accurate now than they actually were before, so as long as you keep moving in one direction, she won't hit you. And I don't mean the band, I just mean keep moving. See? It's not hard. I'm just going to grab a couple more feathers, I'm going to head back to the middle, jump on the flying pad, and take off. And we'll see if we can finish this sooner rather than later. But yeah, don't expect me to be coming back to this episode to do the cheats or anything else like that anytime soon. I will, I promise that, but I just don't know exactly when. It might be a month from now, it might be a year from now. I don't know. Whenever I get a chance, whenever I basically feel like I want to come back and do this game again. Because that's one thing for sure, is that I note in my original commentary that I'm feeling a lot better about this game after I finish it this time than after the last time that I finished it. And now, after the recording failures and everything else, it's the opposite. I feel like I've soured even more on this game because of this. Obviously, it's not the game's fault. It's just something I'm going to have to get over before I come back and play this game again. And yeah, I'm down to 20 feathers. I've still got to put 2 hits on her, so I was honestly beginning to wonder if I would run out of feathers at this point in the fight and just, you know, have to restart the fight again because I lost, you know, I've lost all the feathers out of 100, but nope, I hit her. That's the... Uh-oh. Guess what? She's got a shield now. We can't hit her, but the Jinjos can. We've got to land. It's time to go to the final stage of the fight. Basically, the story behind the Jinjos is that the Jinjos originally were trying to settle Spiral Mountain, but Grunty killed or captured most of them, and since we freed them, they want to come back and give us a hand. So, basically, what we've got to do now is we've got to activate these statues and let them fight for us. Because we can't take down that shield, but the Jinjos can. Because they basically kamikaze into her, explode, and take down some of her health. Alright. So that's the yellow one and the purple one. Oof, I'm taking a lot of damage here. There we go, we broke her broomstick. Now she's landed on the battlements, but since she's still got her shield up, we can't hurt her. We're on the final stage of the fight, guys. Oh, and I never really mentioned it, but that homing spell will hit you no matter what, unless you use Wonder Wing. Guess what? This is the boss of the Jinjos, the Jinjonator. So the Jinjonator is like the other Jinjos. You have to fire rocks into his pedestal to get him to go. But the issue here is that he has 4 holes instead of just 1, and they're all around the sides of the pedestal. Grunty's firing at you constantly. And after every few shots or so, she'll fire a homing shot. That's your signal to be able to shoot, because since there are 4 sides, there's one side that's facing her. So obviously that just makes this that much harder. I mean, it's all a matter of timing and of resource management, because if you... Yeah. There. Ow. Okay. Ugh. I'm just gonna tank this. I don't have a choice. Yes, we got it! Guess what, folks? That's the end of the game. It's the ghosts of the other 4 Jinjos power up the Jinjonator. That's Grunty's oh crap face. Jinjonator warms up. Hits her once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times, 9 times. Powers up. And knocks her right off the side. Oh, and you can die from that final spell, just so you know. I'm glad that I didn't, because I would be extremely mad if I did. Especially since I only had 1 health left. So Grunty goes falling way off the side of her lair, lands in the... and then gets crushed. But she's not dead. She is a witch, after all. Problem is that the rock's just too heavy for her to move, so she's not going to be getting out of there anytime soon. She pleads for Klungo, that's her minion from the Game Over screen, to come and rescue her, but something tells me he's not going to be able to. And welcome to the real ending of the game, guys. This area has actually got stuff in it from another level that never got used. A level called Hammerhead Beach that was replaced by Treasure Trove Cove. And hey, Captain Blubber found something to buy to use his gold on. He bought a jet ski. And you see also the only human character in this game is some lady that they have walking around with 2 conveniently placed melons. Yeah. There's a joke there, I'm not gonna make it. Yep, Banjo and Kazooie are heroes for getting rid of the witch. Of course, Kazooie can't pass up the opportunity to rub it in Bottles' face. But Bottles is a gracious man. Or mole. Cast list? But... oh. Yeah, I suppose we must. So this is the order of all of the characters in the game as seen in order from the beginning of the game to the end. Cutscenes and levels. And this will show just how many of the characters' names that I was wrong at throughout the course of this game. It's interesting to note, I noticed that in my playing through the final battle again, is that a lot of Grunty's rhymes only make sense. See, they're a gruntling. A lot of Grunty's rhymes only make sense if you, say her dialogue in a British accent. So yeah, just a note. I mean, not all of them, but some of them. It's like I can't even remember which one it was. Something I noticed when I was playing through again, and is like, those words don't rhyme. Oh wait, yeah they do. Never mind. Just have to say them differently. But yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. I think this is a really fun LP, great LP like a restart LP, I guess you could say, getting back into the swing of things. Because this, I mean, it wasn't a difficult LP to do, I would say. It was very easy through most of it, because I didn't put a whole lot of effort into actually editing it, as opposed to a lot of other games that I've done. And I mean, it's gotten more complicated as we've gone on. Obviously, I've had to cut more and more out of each episode as we've gone. But yeah, it was a good rebound LP, I guess you could say. I am planning on doing Banjo Tooie sometime in the future. Perhaps not next. I don't know yet. Maybe next, maybe later. Flibbits. Flibbits. You can't see right now, but I'm shaking my fist at the screen. I hate Flibbits so much. Yeah, we're going through the enemies, through the NPCs, all the other characters. Basically, I think this is all the characters who weren't in the credit sequence. So technically you could edit the credits and this section together to make one long sequence with all the characters in it. That's a creative name, Twinkly Muncher. Very creative, guys. Very creative. Sir Slush, go die in a hole. I hate you so much. Sir Slush, I hate you. I hate you so much. Yeah, Jinxie's still got a cold. How do you get a cold in the desert? Seriously? Maybe he's got allergies. What could you be allergic to in the desert? Sand? That'd be miserable. Sand is just rocks. How can you be allergic to rocks? That doesn't make any sense. Grabba, we missed your stuff. Scabby, I guess that makes sense. No, not really, it doesn't. Slappa, whatever that means. Mum. That's, again, real creative, guys. Some of these guys are really off-the-wall names, and others are just like, whatever. Histup, Tip-Tup's cousin, I suppose, whatever. Motzand, my favorite NPC in the game, most underrated NPC in this game. Tumblar. Portrait Champa. Grilled Champas and Portrait Champas, whatever. I still call them wall monsters. Teehee. Nobody calls them that. They're ghosts. That's all. Limbo. What? What? Ripper. Real creative. Seriously? Seriously, guys. Seriously. Nibbly. That Ratbat. Ratbat will always be Ratbat to me. Boombox. Of course, Boss Boombox. Even though he doesn't explode. Grimlets, the most terrifying enemy in the entire game. Horrible, horrible creatures. Flotsam. Very easy enemy for a very hard level. Seaman Grublin. I'm not gonna go there. Not even gonna go there. Chump. Again, it doesn't quite make sense. Snare Bear. Oh, that's clever. That's great. Snare Bear. Yep, that makes sense. I'm not even gonna say that name. And of course, this is Ubba's. You'll be seeing them again in Banjo Tooie. Grublin Hood. See, I told you it was a Robin Hood enemy. I told you. Whip Crack. Well, that's got me there. Yeah, we saw Cheeto. We know who he is. Yeah, I'm a bit tired. It's past midnight. I've been recording for going on 2 hours now. Why is that tree shaking? Oh. Hey, Mumbo, what's up? Secret pictures. What? Secrets we missed? What? For the next game? Yeah, everybody who's ever played this game or ever heard about this game or knows anything about games knows about this. He only tells you about this if you've got all of the jigsaw pieces. Even though you can technically get this far in the game without getting those last two, or even with quite a few less than that, you have to have all 100 jiggies to be able to hear the rest of this cutscene. And they're already talking about Banjo Tooie. Because basically what Rare had been doing at this point was basically what Rare had been doing when they were making this game was taking all of the unused and unfinished things that they had for this game and putting them aside for use in the next game. And while they were doing that, they decided, hey, why can't we just make the two games link up somehow? So the plan was for an adaptation to the N64's hardware. Well, not necessarily an adaptation, a use of the N64's hardware, which would basically allow them to stop the game, like pause it, for instance, take the cartridge out, put in the cartridge of Banjo Tooie, and have some of the game data being saved on the system's actual memory, like basically on its RAM, and have that data be ported from game to game. Unfortunately, there were some changes to the N64's hardware that basically made that impossible. And Rare was basically, well, crap, what do we do now? Well, what they did was they dummied out most of the secrets that you would have been able to use to access the data, these eggs. There's basically no way to get them traditionally in the game. What it would have been basically New Game Plus, where you would just go back into the file that you had already completed and been able to go back and grab these things, but they don't actually appear in the game unless you use very complicated and long cheat codes. I'll be covering those in a bonus video, and basically they do nothing in this game. But it wasn't just eggs. There was also one other item. An ice key. Yeah, basically, none of these secrets would be useful to us here in Banjo Kazooie. I'm still gonna show you them all, obviously, because that's what I do. But just so you know, there's literally no reason to be so worried about what they do, because in this game they don't do anything. In Banjo Tooie they do stuff, but there's no way for the games to actually link up. Now, what I really want to know is why they didn't just use the existing memory adaptations that there already was for the N64. A memory pack. The things that hook up to the bottom of your controller? Why on earth didn't Rare just implement stop and swap through that? Oh well, I guess we'll never know. And as Captain Blubber rides off into the sunset, I'm going to close off the main portion of this LP with this shot of Klungo trying his best to get the rock off of Grunty. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed the LP, and I'll be seeing you guys next time. Good night, folks.